Life after Microsoft Windows. Linux system upgrade, CPU and GPU. 300% increase in speed. Can you believe it? Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time today. We have still some stormy weather. Getting over all of this gunk. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today's a technology day. We'll be talking about the life after Microsoft Windows. I've been doing this series now for about 60 some days, about 2 months. So I'm giving you a little bit of an update here. I have upgraded my PC. I've upgraded my system to see if we can get Linux to run even better. It's running great as it is. It's actually running faster than Windows booting up on the exact same PC. Like I've always told you guys, I have not put it back. On every video I show you this, and this is where it stays. This is my Microsoft Windows. 60 plus days, 2 months later, it has not come out of this little package. All right, we've only been using Linux, and that is for all of my work that I do, all of the photo work, all of the video work, every kind of editing that's done, every thumbnail, everything that you see on this channel and behind the scenes, everything is done in Linux. So we did some upgrading, and what I decided to do was leave the motherboard that I currently have in there and upgrade the CPU to the best of my ability, as well as the GPU, and do it affordably. So the idea or the premise behind this video is I tested out a bunch of different cards and different setups and whatnot, and I'm going to give you what the best bang for the buck is. Because a lot of you don't want to go and spend $2,000 on a brand new PC or $3,000 for a new PC. You might want to do like I did and just upgrade the major parts, okay? Major parts being the CPU, the GPU. You could always add memory. That's a very easy thing to do also. But I have 32 gigs on this computer, and when I run analysis on it, I'm never hitting that threshold. So I'm never having to bump into virtual memory, so to speak. So the physical memory that we have is enough. Now, if I needed more, I could always put more because I have 2 more slots. So I can add another 32 and I would have 64 gigs, but I just don't need it, right? So 32 is where we stay. So to rewind just a little bit, why in the hell am I doing this life after Microsoft Windows cutting the cord series in the first place? If you're new here and you haven't watched any of the other things that I've done in the series, I'll put a link to the series here. When you're done watching this video, click on that and you'll be able to see everything that I've done. All of the operating systems or distros or distributions, Linux distributions that I've tested out. And I gave you which is my favorite as of today. I'm going to test out just a few more distributions in the next week and a half or so. So hang in there for that. But right now we're currently using Linux Mint 22. And it's just simply running great. Now, the reason I did this is a lot of people out there said, listen, we did the whole life after Adobe cutting the cord with you. We cut the cord with Adobe 5 years ago. We're really sick of Windows. And now that it's come to light that Windows is now getting to be even more and more aggressive with what they're doing on the back end to spy on you. Basically, Windows is spyware at this point. Okay, if you don't know it, then your head's in a dark place. A lot of people said, listen, I don't want Windows spying on me. Windows recall was one of the things that really hurt Microsoft. Because a lot of people look at this and they said, Microsoft is actually going to take a picture of my screen every 2 to 3 seconds and then distill all that down using my processing power and then send that off to Microsoft so they know exactly what I'm doing. You can't have that. And that's exactly what I've been trying to do here, so it's easier for you. All right. If you follow me, you can see all of the stumbling blocks that I've hit so far and some of the pain points that I've had to change my methodology to be able to work around. And now we definitely have a system that we are on without any problems at all. This doesn't mean that I'm going to stick with Linux Mint. I might go with one of the other distros that I'm going to test out once again the next week or so. We will see what ends up happening. But as of right now, everything is working good. And like I said, what I want to do is not only take you on this journey with me, but I want to show you all of the pitfalls and all of the successes so you get a good idea of what's going on. I feel there's a lot of videos out there about migrating from Windows to Linux as being just so simple and it's just easy. You know, honestly, there is a learning curve because it is a different operating system. It's the same thing as if you went from Windows to Mac. There's going to be a learning curve, or Mac to Windows. Same exact thing. Here we're just going to Linux. But to me, it's worth going through that little bit of a learning curve period of time. You're a little bit safer and you don't have Big Brother watching you as much. And that to me is really important. Now, I started out with a Ryzen, an AMD Ryzen 1700X. And it was slightly overclocked, which isn't bad. I ended up going with this. This is the Ryzen. Once again, it's the AMD. This is a 3800. Now, the reason why I went with this 3800 over a faster chip is because my current setup, my motherboard would only support up to this chip. Wouldn't go any faster, any higher, right? You would have to get a new motherboard. I didn't want to switch out the entire motherboard. I wanted to get the best bang for my buck, let's say. So doing it this way and not going with a motherboard just simply made sense to me. Now on the GPU side, the graphic card, I brought in a few to test out because once again, I'm trying to get the best bang for the buck so I can pass this information on to you so you don't have to do all this testing. Now, my old card was a GTX 1070, and we moved into this card right here. This is a gigabyte. This is the GeForce RTX 3060. This is an overclocked GPU, and it has 12 gigabytes of RAM in it. Really a amazing card, a really, really good card. And I'm going to tell you about this in just a minute. Well, I also brought in this card. This is the Asus. This is an RTX 4060. The other one was a 3060. This is a 4060 Ti, and instead of 12 gigabytes of built-in VRAM, it has 16 gigabytes. Now, I tested them both out. I started out with that 3060 for about a week. I did a lot of the rendering of the videos that I do. I tested it in gaming. And what I found was kind of interesting. If you are trying to render videos and not play video games on your system, that 3060 is most likely your best bet. It gives you the most bang for your buck. Now, if you are going to go for not only video rendering, but also gaming, the 4060 hands down is a better buy. Now, what is the difference between the two? And that's very, very important. And some people, they want to know about the nuances of all of this. So the architecture changed between the 4060 and the 3060. The 4060 uses a 40 series architecture, which is that NVIDIA architecture, whereas the old one has a 30 series. So it's a little bit better. And when I say better, it has better power efficiency. So it's just going to simply use less power, number one. Number two, the temps are going to be lower. It runs cooler. Your fans aren't blasting when you're playing a video game because it doesn't need to. Once again, it's a better, more efficient, let's say, series. Now, it also has much better NVENC encoding. Now, what that is for is like if you are going to stream video or if you're going to record video from this card directly onto your PC, like what I do. All right, I use OBS and I record directly from the camera instead of recording on the camera and then taking the card out and sticking it. No, I don't need to do all that. I record directly into the PC. And since it is this powerful and it has that upgraded encoder, I could actually do multiple 4K streams simultaneously, which is pretty damn good, actually. And that means streams coming into the computer, but also streams going out of the computer. So when I am streaming on Friday nights, the JC Live show, hopefully you're with me tonight. The JC Live show. When I'm streaming that, I'm streaming in 4K, but with this new card, I could actually stream to multiple platforms 4K without a problem because of the better encoder. Also, it has much more advanced and more cores. What kind of cores? These are these CUDA cores, CUDA. And these are very, very important for NVIDIA because, and also for DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve, for example, loves NVIDIA over the competitor, the Radeon cards, because of this CUDA. Now, the number of cores changes. The 3060 sits at about 3,584 cores, whereas the new 4060 has 4,352. So you're looking at almost 1,000 cores difference, 800, let's call it. And that is a big deal for programs that use them. Some AAA games, and of course, DaVinci Resolve, which what we use as an NLE or a non-linear editor for doing our videos. Now, like I said before, it also gives you more VRAM. So the VRAM in it is 16 gigabytes compared to 12 gigabytes with the 3060. And the, let's say, better cores or architecture, everything rolled in one, simply gives you better AI. So if you're using it for AI, you're doing ray tracing or you're doing deep learning, super sampling, the DLSS. This has DLSS 3.0 compared to DLSS 2.0. So if you're doing anything with AI, this is going to be a much improved experience also. And of course, like I said before, you're getting that better ray tracing performance because your RT cores are higher. There's more of them. Now, what is the price difference? What do these things cost? I'm glad you asked me, because a lot of you guys will make your decision based on how much money you want to spend to do this upgrade. But before I give you the prices, I want to give you what the performance difference is. Now, I did some testing with Guild Wars 2, the video game, and Guild Wars 2 is very CPU intensive. It doesn't use GPU very much, a little bit, but not as much as it should because it is not a AAA game. But there is a difference in speeds. With the old system, all right, I was getting about, when it was really a lot going on the screen, remember it's an MMO, so there might be 50 people on the screen simultaneously. So it's a lot to process. I was getting about 25 to 30 frames per second in some of these really hard to render areas. With the 3060, I was getting about, let's say 35 to 40, maybe 5-10 frames per second faster. With the new GPU, that 4060 that we're testing out, TI 16 gigabyte version, we're sitting, instead of that 25 to 30, we're now sitting at about 45, right? And once again, this is an increase. So instead of 5 to 10, we're now close to 20. This is in the very hard areas to render. Now, when we go out to where it's not as difficult, when we were getting, let's say 40 to 50 frames per second, we are now seeing over 100 frames per second. Now, AAA games, how does it work out? A lot of the AAA games, we're seeing 130 to 160, 175 frames per second. That is absolutely insane to me because I've never seen those frame rates before. So I'm very happy with it. Now, I took some notes when it comes to DaVinci Resolve. I did a video that was 26 minutes long a couple of videos ago, and I wrote down how long it took to render with the 3060 in comparison to the 4060. Now, the 26-minute video with the 3060 took 8 minutes and 38 seconds to render. With the 4060, it took 8 minutes and 45 seconds to render. So it was actually slightly slower on that render. So I did another one. I did one where we had a 17-minute video. It took 5 minutes and 51 seconds to render with the 4060, and it took like 6 minutes and change with the 3060. So what I noticed is when we're rendering videos that have a lot of type or a lot of transitions in it, the 4060 will shine because it just handles it a little bit better. But if it's just a straight on video that's being rendered, but if it's just simply a video that's being rendered with very little cuts in it, that 3060 is going to do equally as well as the 4060. That I found very, very surprising. And it kind of had me reconsider, should I keep the 4060 or just stick with the 3060? Well, let's go to the price, okay? So let's start out with the CPU. The CPU was $219. I didn't try different CPUs. I just got the best that I can get for my motherboard. That's all that I did. So it was $219. Now the GPU varied. The GPU that I originally had was the 1070. It probably cost me about $300 way back when, about 5 years ago or so. The first one that I tried, the RTX 3060, that one cost $284. That was a steal. That was a really good price. For such a massive difference between that 1070 and this 3060, they weren't even on the same scale. Just to give you an idea, to render a 26-minute video with the 1070, my older card, took approximately 24 to 26 minutes. So it's almost a 1-to-1. So if you had a 30-minute video, it would take you close to 30 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. The 26-minute video would take you 24 minutes, let's say, right around there, sometimes 26. So it was 1-to-1. This is insane because you're looking at that 26-minute video at 8 minutes. So you're looking at 3x the speed, 300% faster with this new card. That is amazing to me. Amazing. Now, what's the cost? That 3060 once again came in at that $284, whereas the 4060 was $449. So, $165. Is it worth it? Now, this is going to be a little bit of a hard one for a lot of you guys out there, and it's really going to, once again, be determined, in my personal opinion, with how much you want to spend, and then also how much performance or what are you doing with it. Are you going to be playing AAA games, or are you going to only render videos? What are you doing, right? This is very important. Also, are you doing ray tracing stuff? Are you doing 3D animations? Are you doing AutoCAD, whatever? If you're doing any of that, you're going to get better results with that 4060. Hands down. But if you're only doing rendering, and this is a rendering PC because you're doing, let's say, what I'm doing, and you're just rendering videos, that 3060 for that $165 less is perfect. Because it'll literally give you the exact same speeds, or close to. Now, total price, $668, which would be the total price for me doing the upgrade with the 4060 and that new Ryzen, right? The 3800, doing this combination, $668. If I do the exact same thing, the same CPU with this one, which would be that 3060, would be $503. So you're looking at 668 compared to 503. What is a better deal? And once again, like I said, it's really going to depend on you. For me, I'm going to stick with the 4060. And the reason being is, even though I'm paying $165 more right now, it's going to push the longevity of this PC up the road probably 2 years. That is a long time in tech spec world, right? That is a long time. Once again, I got 3x. I got 300% speed increase just by spending this $668. As a tool for my business, for what I do, $668 to give me an entire 2 years more of extremely fast rendering speeds, hands down, the winner. Now, I looked at a lot of other combinations and what to do, what not to do. I looked at the Radeon cards also instead of using the NVIDIA. And what I found was, since the Radeon cards do not have the CUDA built into them, right? Those CUDA cores. What ends up happening is when you render in DaVinci Resolve with a Radeon card, you actually get worse performance. Whereas the card might be a little bit faster and you might get 10 or 20 frames per second faster game speeds, FPS, you're going to get slower render speeds. And since I'm not gaming the majority of my time, I am rendering. For me, having those extra CUDA cores that DaVinci Resolve will squeeze and use, to me, it is just simply worth it. So in comparison to rendering in 8 minutes, if I was using a Radeon similar priced card that might go faster with gaming by, let's say, 10, 20 FPS, it is going to slow down by minutes. It might be 2 minutes, might be 3 minutes slower, because once again, it doesn't have those CUDA cores. So this is what I ended up going with. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these items down below in the pinned comment as well as the description. If you want to check them out, they're just going to be Amazon links. They'll take you to my Amazon page. You can go and check those out and see if they are of value to you. Those are right now the best deals that we can find on Amazon for these specific cards. If you're watching this video a year from now, you could still click on those and go check these out, but there might be other suggestions below on the Amazon page. So watch for those. Coming full circle, to put a bow on it, $668 gave me 300% faster speeds when it comes to rendering. And when we're talking about frame rates, we're looking at probably double, maybe even faster frame rates. So FPS that used to be 50 is now 100. FPS that used to be 40 is now like 80, maybe 90, sometimes even faster. 60% increase in frame rate. That is just amazing to me for such a small amount to spend. Once again, this system is the best bang for your buck. And that's what I was trying to do with this. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, throw it a thumbs up. That's very helpful. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not. If you are, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Click this little button over here, the notification button, so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. And if you want to say thank you for all of my hard work on this channel, there's a thank you button. You could give $1 or $2. That would be great. If not, the video is still free. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be even better. And like I said before, if you want more of this type of content, the life after Microsoft Windows, I put that link before. Go back there and check those out. And also, if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks, get them over at JCristina.com/books. They are free just for you being here. JCristina.com/books. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the tools I've invented for you over the many years, and my merch and my tees and my shirts and my books and all the rest of this stuff. If there's something there that you like, please consider picking it up and support me and my family. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.